metallic snap rang through the auditorium. My legs buckled beneath me. "Grab her!" The cheering at the nursing pinning ceremony collapsed into gasps as two instructors lunged forward, catching me just before my skull struck the floor. My classmates froze mid-step, candles still burning in their hands, while someone screamed for help. Moments before, I had been beaming as the nursing pin was fastened to my uniform. Now my hands had gone numb. The auditorium lights smeared into streaks above me as scattered words drifted past. "She's not tracking right. Any family in the building? Someone needs to call her emergency contacts." Then nothing. When my eyes opened again, fluorescent hospital lighting had replaced the stage. A nurse caught my blinking. "There you are, Maureen. Stay still for me." My voice came out cracked. "Are my parents here?" The nurse's pause lasted a beat too long. Then the door swung open, but it wasn't my mother. It wasn't my father either. My Aunt Linda stood there, clothes clearly thrown on in a rush, hair unbrushed, bag sliding off her shoulder. She rushed to my side and gripped my hand. "I'm right here, honey." Just not the two people the hospital had been desperately trying to reach. The medical team wanted to keep me under observation overnight. My collapse had several possible causes, and they refused to speculate until the test results came in. As they talked, another nurse quietly flipped through my chart. "We tried both parents multiple times," she told my aunt. No answer. My aunt only nodded. "I got here the moment I picked up." She wouldn't meet my gaze directly. That silence unsettled me more than the diagnosis itself. Years of clinical training had taught me exactly what evasion looked like. Later, once the room had gone quiet, Aunt Linda pulled out her phone. "I didn't want to show you this right now," she said gently, "but keeping it from you feels wrong." She angled the screen toward me. My brother had posted a beach photo. Behind him, my parents were laughing beneath a striped umbrella. The caption read, "Best vacation yet, zero drama this time." I checked the timestamp. It matched exactly with the window the hospital had spent trying to reach them. My grip tightened on the blanket. I said nothing. I made no call. I simply locked the screen and passed the phone back. The quiet that followed felt heavier than any medical update. The next morning, a doctor arrived with updated results. "We're keeping an eye on things," he said. "Want to rule out anything underlying." I nodded without really hearing him. My mind wasn't on lab work or monitors anymore. It was stuck on one question I couldn't shake. If my parents had ignored every call during my collapse, why would they suddenly be desperate to reach me days later? The rhythmic beep of the heart monitor became the backdrop to the following 2 days. Every time staff entered my room, Aunt Linda was on her feet first. "I've got her insurance information. I've signed what I'm permitted to. I'll wait here if she needs another scan." She fielded every responsibility my parents had abandoned without a single complaint. One afternoon, after a consult with cardiology, she turned to me. "Have you eaten today?" I forced a tired smile. "You're still looking after me." "Always will." That answer landed harder than anything a physician had told me. As time passed, buried memories surfaced one after another. Pulling late shifts through nursing school to help cover bills, skipping events because my brother needed cash for another trip, my parents missing academic honors because his games took priority. Even the day I graduated top of my class, my mother's response was, "Your brother's dealing with a lot right now. Don't make this about you." I used to convince myself she hadn't meant it that way. Now doubt crept in. The nurses picked up on it too. During a med check, one glanced around the empty room and asked my aunt with a smile, "Are you her mom?" Aunt Linda shook her head. "I'm just the one who showed up." The nurse's face fell, and she said nothing more. That night, Aunt Linda finally confessed. "It wasn't just one call, Maureen. The hospital left several urgent voicemails." I stared down at the blanket. There has to be an explanation. She didn't push back. She just took my hand and held it. 2 days after that, once I felt strong enough to look at my phone, it lit up nonstop. 83 missed calls, countless texts. One message from my mother stood apart from the rest. "We need you. Call us now." No, "Are you all right?" No apology anywhere, just a command. I looked toward my aunt. She held my gaze and said quietly, "Don't call back until you understand why they suddenly need you." Curiosity won out the next morning. I opened my brother's social feed. The vacation hadn't paused after my hospitalization. New posts showed boat trips, seafood dinners, sunset photos, smiling family shots. Comments piled up congratulating them on a perfect getaway. Then I spotted something different. A nursing classmate had commented under one photo. "Wait, isn't Maureen still hospitalized?" Someone replied, "She collapsed at our pinning ceremony. We're all worried." For the first time, the polished image my parents had built online was crashing into reality. Before I could process it, my phone rang. "Mom." I glanced at Aunt Linda. She nodded. "Speaker it." I picked up. "Finally," my mother said, skipping any greeting. "We need your help." I stayed silent. "There's paperwork to sort through, medical forms, insurance questions. We need you to clear up a few things before this gets worse." I frowned. "You haven't once asked if I'm okay." Silence. My father's voice cut in. "Can we stay on topic?" "No," I said flatly. "Why didn't either of you come to the hospital?" "We already went over this," my mother snapped. "We were traveling." That's not an answer. Before she could continue, my brother's voice bled into the call. "I told you those hospital calls would wreck the trip." Dead silence followed. Nobody corrected him. Nobody denied it. I shut my eyes. "So you knew," my mother tried cutting in. "Maureen, that's not..." I hung up. Within the hour, relatives started messaging. "Your parents say you're cutting them off. Why are you doing this to them?" At first I couldn't understand how the narrative had spread so fast. Then classmates who'd witnessed my collapse began responding publicly, laying out exactly what happened at the ceremony and how no parent had ever shown up. The story my family had been spinning started falling apart. Without a word, Aunt Linda handed me her phone. On the screen were screenshots of the hospital's repeated call attempts, time-stamped right alongside the beach photos posted during those same windows. There was no more room for doubt. They had known. The calls from my parents only intensified after that. Blocking one number brought another. Voicemails stacked up. "Maureen, answer the phone. This has gone too far. We're your family." Not one of them asked if the doctors had ever determined what caused my collapse. Once I was cleared for discharge, I requested the hospital's official contact log for my records. A staff member walked me through it. "Every attempt to reach your emergency contacts is documented here," she said. Most went to voicemail. One call was unanswered before it ended abruptly. The timestamps lined up almost perfectly with Aunt Linda's screenshots. Nothing was missing anymore. A few days later, a relative called Aunt Linda. After hanging up, she studied me carefully. "I think it's time you knew why they're suddenly desperate." I nodded. "Your brother rented a boat on the trip, skipped the safety briefing, caused a wreck, and now insurance investigators are asking questions. Medical bills and liability claims are stacking up." I stared at her. "So that's why Mom wants me involved." "You're the only one in the family with a medical background," Aunt Linda said. "They're hoping you can navigate the paperwork, deal with insurance, maybe even help cover costs." Every strange piece clicked into place. The demanding text, the non-stop calls, their refusal to discuss my hospitalization at all. None of it had ever been about my well-being. The next morning, I booked a consultation with a lawyer before answering another call. From then on, every exchange would be on record. When my father finally reached me again, he said, "Let's handle this quietly within the family." I answered evenly. "Privacy ended the moment you ignored a hospital calling about your daughter." Long silence. Then Aunt Linda set one more piece of paper on the table between us. "Maureen," she said softly, "there's something about those hospital calls they've never told you." I turned to her. "What is it?" She exhaled slowly. "The hospital did reach your mother." My stomach dropped. "They actually spoke?" She nodded. "I was standing at the nurse's station when the charge nurse finally got through. She explained you'd collapsed during your pinning ceremony, that you were being evaluated, and that they needed immediate family present." "What did she say?" Aunt Linda looked down before answering. "She asked if you were conscious." "And?" "When the nurse told her you were still being tested, your mother said, 'If it turns serious, call back. We're a few hours out.'" Then she hung up. The room went completely still. For years I had built excuses every time I'd been pushed aside. Maybe they were busy, maybe they forgot. Maybe it would be different next time, but there was no excuse left standing. They had known, and they had chosen to stay away. Days later, I agreed to meet my parents at my attorney's office. The meeting lasted under half an hour. My mother pushed a folder across the table. "We just need you to help us through this." My attorney spoke before I could. "My client would like to understand why neither of you responded appropriately once informed of her medical emergency." Neither answered. My father only repeated, "We're family. Family helps each other." I slid the folder back. "Family also shows up." No one spoke. I stood. "The second you chose a vacation over coming to the hospital, you stopped being people I could count on." I walked out with Aunt Linda beside me. That was the last time I tried to earn love from people who weren't willing to give it. The truth spread through the rest of the family soon after. Hospital records confirmed the timeline. Screenshots showed cheerful vacation posts going up in the exact minutes the emergency calls were placed. The story my parents had spun about being unfairly abandoned unraveled completely. Relatives who once pressured me to step in stopped calling with opinions. Many quietly apologized instead. Without my help, my parents were left to face the insurance investigation and legal fallout from my brother's accident on their own. For once, my brother had no one left to clean up his mess. A month later, I started my career as a registered nurse. One of the first forms I filled out asked for emergency contacts. I left my parents off entirely. In their place, I wrote a single name, Linda. On orientation day, I pinned my nursing badge next to the same pin I'd earned before everything fell apart. Looking out into the crowd, I found my aunt smiling back at me. She'd been there the moment I woke up in that hospital bed, and she was there as I began the next chapter of my life. It took 23 years, but I finally understood something simple. Family isn't defined by who gets the call. It's defined by who picks up. The day I collapsed taught me exactly who would show up when I couldn't stand on my own, and that truth became the foundation for everything I built afterward.